Hi everyone, welcome. In today's video, I'd like to show you building up some millwork along this east wall, and a little bit of showcasing you some custom building in Revit. So the first thing I'm going to do is you can see very clearly that I have these structural columns that are in our way, more so this one than this one. Let me go ahead and turn it off. And gosh, there's a couple ways of doing this, but I find the quickest for the time being is literally selecting it and then going to the glasses at the bottom of your interface in Revit, which is called hide and isolate. I select it and I just say hide. Another way you can do it, I'm just going to hit Control Z right now to undo what I did. Another way you can do it is you could do a giant selection window. You can go here top up north on the interface. You could select filter. And then you can check none, and literally I could just select the structural columns to select, which turns blue, which you could see basically the same thing happens, and then again, just turn it. And then there's a third way, which is visibility and graphics, which I'll probably show you in another video. So hold that thought. Okay, so with that said, in Revit, in our libraries, we have some basic base cabinetry and upper cabinetry. I'd like to just show you if it's going to build up something like this linear length of a base cabinet, how I can do it. First off, where I get some of those families are obviously through inserting a family in Revit. A quick way is obviously just going to the insert button on the top of your screen and to our right, again, at the top of the interface is a button called Load Family. And if you select it, you will open up the English Imperial Library. And this is all the categories that we have in Revit. And if you scroll, oh gosh, it's right at the top. It's the fourth folder from the top. I'm calling it Millwork, but it's also called Casework. Casework is something that you can buy pretty standard. A company name by the name of Marilat is a company that you can find base cabinetry from, especially if you're on a low budget project. Good place to begin. This is just Casework in the sense that it's standard sizes, increments of 3 inches. But if you open it up, you will get 5 folders: base cabinetry, countertops, shelving, tall cabinets, wall cabinets. What I want to do is basically create a base cabinet, and I want to put a countertop on it. So I'm going to show you first. So base cabinet, many different base cabinets. I am in Revit version 2023, and this has definitely expanded as far as options. I think the one I always like to work with is the one that is either this double, so it's base cabinet, double door, and 1 drawer, or base cabinet, double door, 2 drawer. Again, very standard, generic. What I'm envisioning is if you are in your office space and you're at the copy room, this is some base cabinetry that you might find very often. It does also occur in cafes, but usually copy workrooms, just because they're kind of back of the office. There's not high design there. If you're going to save a little bit of money, this is where maybe you're going to save a little bit of money. These cabinets from Marilat in particular, only come in 3 standard finishes. So you're not hiring on a mill worker. You're not adding to the overall fee too much. It's something that you can build upon pretty quickly. Okay, so how do I build with this? Again, select the family to load it into your project file. It takes a minute or so. It shouldn't take very long. And if I go back to the architecture tab, you literally can go under components and you can go place a component. Now, if I was going to build these cabinets custom, literally based upon a design, based upon a sketch that I sketched out, I definitely would be heading to model in place. But I'd like to show you what comes out of the standard software package of Revit first. So place a component. Right away, that family automatically is loaded. I could have done it through place a component, but for the most part, you open it up, it'll tell you the title, and double door, 2 drawer. and then it'll give you all the sizes. Now, this does not mean that I can only have a cabinet 48 inches wide, or I can have a cabinet that's only 30 inches minimum. It just means these are some standard sizes. And I believe what I did in class for us is I think grabbed and selected a standard 36 wide cabinet, but you know what, to save a little bit of time, you know what, we're going to stick with 36 just to be consistent. And if you move your cursor on over, I'm right now under the visual style of shaded with edges. So you're seeing a little bit of color, a little bit of shading, but you know, again, if you prefer just black and white, because it's higher contrast, by all means go for it. But you're kind of seeing really my family. It is rotated right now, so if I hit the space bar, I can rotate it in the direction that I want to place. I tend to place these things in plan view. However, you can still place them in 3D view like this. You'll notice that I just kind of moved on over, it kind of snapped in place, and I hit escape to get out of the command. I am in my 3D view like I referenced, but if I go to the floor plans level 1 view and I take a look at that cabinet, you can see I'm definitely at the wall, but I'm not necessarily all the way to where my CAD drawing has started the millwork. So I am going to just do move that from endpoint to end. I'm going to go back into 3D just to show you a little bit more. With a cabinet like this, again, you can multiple copy pretty quickly. So, you know, again, it's only 36 inches wide, but I can select my copy command, I have constraints on, I have multiple on, and I can just move into an endpoint. Again, object snaps automatically are on in Revit. You don't have to turn anything on or change anything. It's just part of the package, so it's really cool. Part of the template, I should say. But again, I'm selecting endpoint to endpoint to endpoint, and it's just creating this long base. It looks like I'm going to be a little bit longer than what I've drawn in CAD. That's okay, really. Like, again, I can change these to 48 and extend that if I needed to. I probably did use 48. So, anyway, but, you know, again, kind of a long cabinet, but again, if we're looking to save some costs, this kind of comes in handy. And then the beautiful part is, again, if I go back to a floor plan level 1 view, let me show you adding a counter. Same setup or same steps. I'm going to go to the architecture tab. I'm going to go to components. I'm going to go to place a component, because again, this is nothing that's custom. I'm going to say load family here. And again, it's going to take me right back to the same folder I was last in, which is Casework. But this time I'm going to go to countertops. And again, we have a slew, well, I take that back. This is about, there's maybe a few more than you would see in 2020 or 2021 Revit. But for the most part, the one that I want is just this nice, clean countertop, but I want a little bit of a backsplash. That 4-inch high backsplash, which again, we see in workbench or copy rooms areas. Literally, I kind of want to see that. You can just have a nice clean countertop, but this is more for an island. So I'm going to select this countertop. And what's great about it is you go ahead and load it by hitting open at the bottom of your screen. And it'll load, as you can see on my screen. And I'm in plan view, so you can see it's running horizontally when I need it to run vertically. So again, just select your space bar. It rotates in the direction you want. And if you zoom in, literally just like we've been doing, I kind of place it in place. Now notice no object snaps are popping up. My constraints are a little bit different, and if that's true, that's all right. Literally, I'm just going to do this. I'm just going to place it, and then literally I'm going to move it manually. And that's when your object snaps will pop up. And you will see at the same time these little double arrows. These wonderful double arrows allow you to stretch your counter. But before I do that, I just want to hit save really quick. And I also want to show you this in 3D really quick. So right away, I placed that in plan view at the edge there, but it knew where to place it in height. That's the beautiful thing about Revit. It's an intelligent program. Don't need to tell it everything, but it understood that there was a base cabinet already there and knew where to place. And again, I want to extend that counter all the way to the end of this run of cabinets. So literally, I'm going to go back to my floor plan view level 1. I'm going to see that double arrow. I'm going to move my cursor right on top of it. I'm going to hold down on the left side of my mouse, and I'm going to drag till I see the edge of my cabinet. So you'll see, if you zoom in, this part is my CAD drawing right here where I'm kind of circling. This is actually my Revit file. So again, if I go into 3D, just to view it, you can see that my custom run, if you will, with the Revit family is a little bit longer than my CAD file. Again, if this was truly a project, I'd be editing that. I'd be editing these 36 wide cabinets, probably dimensioning it, because again, we have our little dimension tool at the top, and I could see point blank what that dimension is, which is being called out at 20 feet. So again, how many cabinets does it take to divide into 20 feet? That's what I would be figuring out. So for the most part, again, I'm being a little messy is what I'm trying to say. So that's one standard way of going about cabinets in Revit. Again, I'm going to save. Now, we also have custom building, modeling, basically what's called model in place in Revit. Very generically, you know, again, we have loaded for this project an AutoCAD file, a cafe, if you will, and I have this very generic in AutoCAD. I drew these arced shapes. One is to represent a toe kick, and one is represent the base, and others represent the counter. I did this years ago because in AutoCAD, when we built with 3D solids, and it was kind of easier to kind of get a little bit more detailed up front. In this situation, it's kind of helpful because it allows me to kind of show you a little bit of building. So let me show you some customizing building in Revit, which I think you'll find is fun also at the same time. Okay, so I'm going to go right into what's called model in place. My whole, the first pop-up window that happens is what's called family, category, and parameters. The first thing you want to do for Revit is you want to tell it what you're building. And what are we building, you guys? We are building Casework. Now, this is where, because it's custom, I could call it also Millwork, because again, on a project, an interior project, you'd be hiring a millworker, and that millworker is a craftsperson, and they would be building this piece up. So a little bit, I shouldn't say a little bit, more costly than, you know, going to a company like Marilat and buying base cabinetry, but at the same time, something that is focused in design, right? So anyway, I'm going to say millwork, and actually we don't have a category called millwork in Revit, so that whole little speech I just gave you is not a waste of time, but literally I do need to say casework here. Sorry guys. Anyway, casework, I'm going to hit OK. It's going to ask me for a little bit more information on the specific piece. And so definitely I am going to say arc, island, and I'm going to say toe kick, because this is going to be the bottom piece of my island, if you will. I'm just going to hit OK. And where does this get referenced? When, if we need to edit this at all or go find it, we can go to visibility and graphics and find this information, which is really great. So if I hit OK here, I'm going to go into basically what's called edit mode. But if you notice at the top of my interface, my whole tabs and panels has changed because you're in what's called modeling, basically modeling in place mode. So first thing that Revit wants to know is, how are you going to go about building this? And we're going to build it the easiest of all of these options, which is just an extrusion. An extrusion is basically taking a shape, a form, and giving it height at the end of the day. In this particular case, everything that we're building off this floor plan is coming from the XY plane and moving in positive Z along the Z axis, of course. So extrusion is what I'm going to select. It's going to change the tabs and panels to then modify that create extrusion. So very clearly right away I'm in something that looks similar for us in modify or edit mode in Revit. It's going to ask me how do I want to build it, and it's going to ask me some dimensions off on the left hand side under properties. So first and foremost, what I want to introduce you to is an option called pick lines. So if you have already objects built, and again this came from CAD, I can mimic them by just picking this line. So literally I'm going to select pick line here, and I'm going to move into that interior shape. So that's a straight edge. This is one of the arcs. This is the other arc. When you select with the pick lines, or basically draw in anything in edit mode, it basically creates a magenta color object. So it's kind of easy to see. And that was pretty simple. But off on the left-hand side where it says extrusion start, I definitely want to begin on the XY plane. So that is 0 feet, 0 inches. But it says extrusion end. I want to build up this kick plate. I'm just going to use standard American dimensions. So 4-inch high kick plate, which we're pretty used to. And then what I'm going to do is I'm either going to hit apply. Well, actually, I'm not going to hit apply at the bottom of the screen. It's not an option. What I'm going to select is up north, which is finish edit mode. It's a green check. If you select it, you will see that your screen, your viewport will go back in color. It will showcase that piece. And so if I orbit a little bit by holding down shift and my trackball, you could see that there is my shape. And what I tend to do as I build on, because again, I still need a base cabinet, I still need a counter, I will go ahead and hide this object. So I'll just grab, again, my eyeglasses at the bottom, and I'll say hide. The other way that you can hide, of course, is by just right-clicking and going to, no, create, recent, no, mine, I don't, it's an option. Hi, bear with me. Select it. Time. No, sometimes you have a little delete or a hide, but I don't have that option. So that's okay. So literally I'm selecting, going to the glasses at the bottom, and I'm just going to say hide element, only because this is one object, it's one element. I don't need to hide the whole entire category because I'm going to keep going on with casework. And then bam. So my second object to finish, if you will, probably. Okay. So I apologize, you guys. When you build a custom piece in Revit, be sure that you hit the first green finish edit mode, and then there is a second one. So that's why I didn't have it as an option on my right click. Let me show you that on the next one. Okay, so again, select, right click, here we go. Hide in view and hide element. So again, if you find right clicking to be easier versus the selection of the glasses at the bottom, all is good. Hide in view and then hide element. Okay, so let me do that again. So literally I'm going back to the architecture tab. I'm going back to model in place. This time I'm going to be working on the base cabinet. So it's sitting above the toe kick. Again, it's asking me what it is. So it is truly casework, and I can just select casework. I don't have to type it each time. And then again, what is it? It is arc, island. Island, and this is going to be the base cabinet. And okay. Okay, and again, very much our tabs and our panels have changed at the top. Revit is asking me, how am I going to model in place? What type of modeling am I going to do? This is just the simple extrusion, so select it. And again, I'm going to use my pick lines because it saves me a lot of time. So I'm going to select, and it's not the interior, it's that secondary shape on the outside. So it's about 1 inch away from it, so be careful. You might have to zoom into it to really see it. But it's that shape right there. And again, now that I have the shape selected, start extrusion is actually 4 inches, because again, it's going to sit above the toe kick. And I am going to have my base cabinet sit at, I'm going to make it 2 foot 10 inches. Yep. And again, hit apply or hit the green check. And again, this is where I messed up. So I was excited last time for the toe kick that you saw the object. But again, remember in the upper right-hand corner up top on the interface, you have a secondary finish mode check that you need to select, button, I should say. So go ahead and select that. And you are looking at your base cabinet. And again, I'm going to select it. And I'm going to say hide and view elements. So that's another. And then I'm left with my counter. So again, same steps. I'm going to go to the architecture tab. I'm going to go to model in place. I'm going to tell it that it is casework, which it definitely is. And I'm going to again call it, it's an arc island. And this is the counter. And again, what type of modeling am I going to do? I am going to basically create an extrusion. And again, use your pick lines because it saves a ton of time, and select basically the outline to the shape. So it's 2 arcs and 2 lines, basically, like that. And then again, what's the dimension? So the last base cabinet sat at 2'10", so obviously this is going to sit at 2'10". And this, I'm going to make my counter height 1 inch, so 2'11". So a little tall. Sorry. Again, hit apply. Again, hit your finish edit mode if you're complete. Again, you will see it. But again, hit the second green check finish model. And then literally, you guys, if you hit and select the icon next, first off, if you go to the eyeglasses, and if I hit this reset temporary hide isolate, I believe this is only going to turn on my structural column. Yeah, which there it is, popped up, which we don't need. I do actually want to hide that. So, okay. What I want to do is I want to turn everything on. So I'm going to hit this reveal hidden elements, which basically showcases for me everything I have hidden in this magenta or red color. And if you select it, what you see hidden, you can right click and say unhide in view. And then I have one more to go, which basically is the toe kick. So you might have to orbit a little bit. Select it, again, right click, and you can select unhide in view. And so for the most part, I think I need to do that one correct. Yeah, unhide in view based on elements. Okay, beautiful. So you're seeing basically base cabinet on the straight run on the east wall that's built from the Revit families, and you're seeing a little customizing. And when I'm done using the reveal hidden elements, you can just hit the light bulb one more time, and you are back to your review. So in a nutshell, that is generically Millwork. I should say Casework and Millwork and Revit. I'm going to save. You have a little bit more of Casework and Millwork to build up in your north wall. And again, I'm going to leave that to you how you want to build it. Do you want to use Revit families, or do you want to custom build? Have a little bit of fun and explore. Literally, that's the whole point of learning, right? So hopefully you found this video very helpful. Let me know if you guys have any questions. And please let me know if you liked the video, and I have a couple more to create that I promised you guys, so more is coming up. Thank you very much, and have a great day. Bye.